It is a cold morning in November 2005. The administrator of the largest online UFO community is sipping a hot coffee while scrolling through the emails in his inbox. The wind rages outside the window like a sinister omen. One email stands out among all of them.
First, let me introduce myself. My name is Anonymous. I am a retired employee of the US government. I won't go into any great details about my past, but I was involved in a special program.
The gobsmacked administrator appears naively curious, unaware that he is looking at highly classified information from all US government bodies, containing the truth about the last 50 years of American history, such as the events following the disastrous Roswell crash, events that would have led the US government to make a deal with extraterrestrials in an unthinkable interplanetary exchange program. (1965) Unspecified US Air Force Base. A soldier accompanies the colonel inside the base. The silence is deafening. The colonel himself had seen many security structures, but never one like this. Surveillance measures include cameras in every corner, metal detectors, and armed guards. At this point, the two reach an elevator. The colonel, entering, can't help but notice the absence of buttons on the wall. The doors close, and the soldier leaves after saying goodbye to his superior. The lift descends several floors underground. The doors open. Another young soldier welcomes him. The department he belongs to is written on his badge: Air Force Office of Special Investigations. The colonel is accompanied to the meeting room, where there are already 11 people present. Files are placed in front of each station, and a TV is placed on the wall of the room, ready to transmit a message. Most of those present are soldiers of the Air Force, a couple from the Navy and as many from the Army, judging by their uniforms. Another figure enters the room, an Air Force major who indicates to those present the highest classification and confidentiality of the information he is about to reveal. Less than 60 people in the world are aware of this information. If you report what you are about to see today to anybody unauthorized, you will be charged with high treason. Those present have been carefully chosen from hundreds of candidates by leading exponents of the US Air Force and the Defense Intelligence Agency, under strict directives from President Kennedy. These military organizations require essential characteristics for each member of the crew. Each candidate must belong to a military body, not necessarily the Air Force. Each candidate must have a career of at least 4 years. Each candidate must have no family ties. Priority will be given to candidates who are orphans. The mission requires an extremely high level of discipline, so the subjects must be chosen based on their performances in past missions. With these directives, a volunteer announcement is issued for an unspecified mission. Of the numerous candidate volunteers, the choice falls on 12 elements. The commander of the mission, number 102, the assistant commander, number 203, pilot number 225, pilot number 308, linguist number 420, linguist number 475, biologist number 518, scientist number 633, scientist number 661, doctor number 700, doctor number 754, and security number 899. In the meeting room, the projection begins. The film opens with a message which is clear to all those present, a non-disclosure notice under the penalty of arrest. A countdown begins. The footage was extracted from an old film. The first images show what appears to be a shot of the starry sky in the desert. Suddenly, superimposed writing appears, leaving everyone present in a state of shock. 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. First contact. The images shown are rather ruined, but a disc-shaped object can be seen in the ground. Then suddenly, a small humanoid figure emerges from the rubble. The creature is described as being very similar to the aliens of science fiction. A slender, grey body of short stature, with a disproportionately large head, and equally large, pitch-black eyes. The military defined this creature with the acronym EBE-1, Extraterrestrial Biological Entity Number 1. According to the documents and the video, EBE-1 is the only survivor of the disaster. That night, 5 more bodies are extracted from the remains of the flying saucer. Alternating with the shocking Roswell footage, additional 1949 footage is shown from a nearby area. It appears that a second UFO crashed, and the government has kept the matter extremely confidential. According to official reports, in this incident, no life form managed to survive. From the debris of the 2 vehicles that had fallen in the desert, part of the onboard equipment is later recovered. Needless to say that it is considerably more advanced technology than that of the Earth. EBE-1 is escorted to the Los Alamos military base, where, according to records, he not only lived until 1952, but appeared to have formed a communicative relationship with scientists. The dossier reports how EBE-1 did not speak through the use of words, but through tonal variations, an almost harmonic communication described as high-pitched singing. Only after numerous attempts did actual communication take place. The entity claims 2 things: that he is a simple ship's engineer and that he is not the first traveller of his kind. The route to our planet is very popular, since his kind have been visiting the Earth by now for thousands of years. At this point, the scientists name the race of EBE-1 the Ebens. EBE-1 explains that among the debris that they have recovered, there is also a precious communication device, and the 2 sides come to an agreement. The entity provides humans with technology and knowledge in exchange for the means to repair the device and recontact his kind. EBE-1 tries to contact its home planet multiple times, but each time with unsuccessful results. Reports refer to the mysterious planet as Serpo, located in the constellation Zeta Reticuli, approximately 40 light-years from Earth. The name of that constellation is familiar to all present. The constellation itself is in fact mentioned in a second case of direct extraterrestrial contact. The military are unable to convert the recovered technology. All they have is the communicator belonging to EBE-1, also thanks to the absolute secrecy of the discovery. Attempts to communicate with Serpo seem to bring no results, when, in 1952, they successfully connect the communication device with the power supply of the spacecraft. This finally allows the development of a stable communication channel. There are a total of 6 successfully sent messages. The answers received are fully understandable only to EBE-1 and partially translated by him. None of the messages received refers to the exchange program, but only to directives for rescue and for the date of the meeting between Earthlings and the Ebens. Unfortunately, EBE-1 dies in the summer of 1952, and from that day communications with Serpo cease, until 3 years later. The scientists persist in trying to establish a peaceful relationship for a visit to Earth by the Ebens. It turns out that the desire for a new visit and the establishment of a diplomatic relationship is mutual, above all because the people of Zeta Reticuli have expressed their willingness to recover the remains of their fallen comrades. The meeting would take place in great secrecy, away from prying eyes. at the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico on the 24th of April, 1964. What the Major says to those present in the room may seem strange and excessive, but it is the practice for missions of absolute secrecy. Each participant in the mission would no longer be traceable from any registers. His or her identity would be dissolved and replaced with a 3-digit number. The registry and bank records would have been censored, making the participants real ghosts. This operation is named Sheep Dip. They have just officially become members of Project Crystal Knight. White Sands Missile Range, New Mexico, April the 24th, 1964. A pair of unidentified flying objects enter the Earth's atmosphere. They are not flying saucers similar to those found at crash sites. Their dimensions are much larger. To welcome the visitors is a group of 16 senior government and military officials, whose identity remains shrouded in mystery, despite the assumption that the meeting is being filmed and documented. A large number of Ebens descend from the aircraft, with some technological discoveries of their home planet, as a gift to the Earth. Among the Eben visitors stands out a figure recognized as a female and nicknamed EBE2. She does not need any translation device, as she is able to understand and speak English. EBE2 shows those present a strange object, a transparent rectangle about 2 inches thick, composed of an unknown material. The entity, looking at the transparent plate, causes its activation, and suddenly images of the universe and words appear. This object is later called Yellow Book. This artifact details parts of our universe, such as planets, stars, and even Serpo itself. What is most shocking is that it describes the relationship between Eben and humans throughout history and human evolution. EBE2 continues the diplomatic meeting, explaining the being's willingness to postpone the date for the exchange with humans, and that for this first meeting they only wanted to take back the bodies of their deceased comrades. A total of 9 bodies have been cryogenically preserved and are delivered, 4 of which have undergone autopsies. The parties agree to set a new date and location for the exchange program, July the 15th, 1965, at the northern section of the Nevada test site. Each member of the team, in addition to having to participate in numerous medical tests, must face the positive attitude test, a very common psychological examination for both pilots and special forces personnel. The team must endure extreme psychological and physical training. During one test, each member is locked up in a 5 by 7 foot box, buried 7 feet underground for 5 days with only food and water, no contact with anyone else, and in total darkness. During this training period, the team also participates in numerous theoretical lessons and study sessions on known information about Ebens, such as their anatomy and their language. Other theoretical lessons concern the introduction to stellar exploration and astronomy, the identification of stars through technological means, and the study of basic astrophysics. Anonymous reports that among these notions there are also basic instructions to allow a pilot to fly smaller Eben ships, such as those that crashed in New Mexico. The training sessions are diversified to try to make the team as multifaceted as possible, in order to prepare the team for the eventuality that someone could take on somebody else's role in the event of the death of a member of the team, or an eventual mutiny. These circumstances lead the team to get to know each other better, and go so far as to give each other nicknames to use in less formal situations. Anonymous reports only 5 of the 12 in total. Number 102 is nicknamed Skipper. The doctors numbers 700 and 754 become Doc 1 and Doc 2. And finally the 2 pilots numbers 225 and 308 take the nicknames Sky King and Flash Gordon. There is little certain information about their state of mind during their training. We can only imagine the anxiety and fear of having such a weight on their shoulders. What would happen to them and to the Earth if the Ebens were hostile? July the 15th, 1965. 2 Eben ships land as scheduled at the northern section of the Nevada test site. The welcoming committee is much reduced compared to the previous diplomatic visit. The number of people present is not reported. We can limit ourselves to deducing a bare minimum of people who load the ship. On a bus, the 12 team members await directives, while several military trucks prepare to unload what will be the group's equipment and supplies. Anonymous highlights the existence of an official inventory document which accurately reports all the equipment and supplies loaded on board, reaching a total load weight of about 90,500 pounds. The items loaded range from military equipment to medical and research equipment, to supplies for the next 5 years and a range of vinyl records for simple but essential entertainment. There is no reliable data on the dimensions of these cargo ships, but reports state that the equipment in its entirety is loaded on only one of the 2 ships. We are ready. Hard to think we finally made it. Team is motivated and cool. We loaded everything and it fits. Really excited about this. No reservations by anyone. MTC asked all members to make a final decision. The team all said, go. We go. Interior of the EB craft is big. There are 3 levels. I think this is a shuttlecraft. We stored the cargo in a lower level. Strange looking walls. They seem to be dimensional. There are 3 stations. 4 of us will sit in each station. There are only benches. No seats. The MVC says we don't need anything special. No oxygen or helmets. MTC gave us final words. One prayer said, "We board the EB craft. 475 is really nervous. The hatch is closed. No windows. We can't see out. Everyone is seated in their respective seats on the bench. No retention harnesses." The craft is starting its engines, or what they call energy thrusters. Seems like we're moving. I feel really dizzy now. I can't think straight. We don't know where we are, but it seemed like we all fainted. According to my wristwatch, it took about 6 hours. We flew into the big ship. There are many EBs helping us. They seem to understand we are confused. The cargo was offloaded in one big move. This ship looks like the inside of a really big building. The ceiling is about 100 feet high in this area of the ship. I just can't describe how big this is. It took us about 15 minutes to walk to our area. The chairs are bigger, but there are only 10 of them. MVC finally showed up, told us we will begin the trip soon. They are indicating we must sit in the chairs. We don't know what to expect from this point on. I'm not sure just how long we were in the containers. We sat in the chairs and a clear container was placed over us and the chair. We were isolated in this bubble or sphere. We could breathe okay and could see out, but we really felt dizzy and confused. I think I fell asleep or fainted. I think this is another day. but my watch says 1 hour since we sat. 899 figured out how to get out because he is standing up. He opened my sphere. Not sure if we should be out of this thing. 899 and myself are walking around this room. Originally, we were told it would take about 270 of our days. Okay. EB came in and pointed to the chairs. I guess we need to go back and get into them. The pioneering interplanetary journey, with an expected duration of 39 light years, according to data reported by Anonymous, would have lasted only 270 Earth days. Thus, through calculation, it would mean an average cruising speed of 40 times the speed of light. The Ebens must have developed a technology capable of travelling through the fourth dimension, time, exploiting what we know as wormholes. Our date recorder isn't working very well, according to 633. He thinks we have been going for 10 days, but not really sure. We have been confined to this room for the entire time. We relieve ourselves in some sort of small metal containers that are emptied by the EB every now and then. EB brings us food, their food. We tried it and it tastes like paper. Their water is milky looking, but tastes like apples. EB allowed us to leave the room. We walked along a very narrow hallway for a long period of time, maybe 20 minutes. We then got into some sort of elevator, which moved fast because we could feel the motion. We came out into a very large room that contained many Ebens sitting in their seats. Maybe this is the control center. We were able to wander around without any Eben bothering us. There was one window, but we couldn't see anything. It was dark, but we could make out wavy lines, maybe some sort of distortion in time. NVC takes 4 of us to the engine room, or whatever they wish to call the room. It contains large, very large metal containers. They are in a circle, with the ends of each pointing into the center. In the center of these containers is a copper-colored coil, or something looking like a coil. There is a bright light shining from a point above into the center of the coil. We hear a very dull hum, but no major loud sounds. 661 thinks it's a negative matter versus positive matter system. The assumption of 661 is in line with the studies that the engineer Robert Lazar will carry out 15 years later. He works at Area 51 during the 80s. His goal is to convert and understand alien technology. According to his discoveries, the Ebens use antimatter reactions to power their aircraft through a super heavy substance called Element 115, a mysterious element totally alien to the Earth. I am awake again. Ebens are in the room. I climbed out of my bowl. The English-speaking Eben sees me, and I asked him if everyone in my crew was alright. He doesn't understand alright. I point to the crew. I say 11. Where is number 12? EB then points to a bowl that is empty and says, Earthman is not living. My crew is walking around in a state of confusion. What is wrong with them? EB replied, space sick, but will not be sick soon. Told 203 to round up all crew. Found 308 missing. He was in a bowl, something like a coffin. EB cautioned us not to take 308 out. 899 wants to arm himself with a handgun. I said no, we don't need guns. No Ebens have been hostile towards us. EB came in, told us the journey almost over, led us to the hallway. We got into the moving room and moved to another part of the ship. MVC wants us to prepare for landing. I guess we are almost there. 700 reminds us to wear our sunglasses once we exit. We pack up and walk down a long hallway. We travel for 1 minute. Then a door opened. We are in a large room with many smaller spaceships, stored there with our gear. Suddenly a large door opens. Bright light. The brightness is almost too much for our eyes without sunglasses. A crowd of Ebens is waiting for us. We see a large Eben, the largest one we have seen yet, about 1 foot taller than the others. He comes forward and starts speaking to us. Eb translates a welcome message from the leader. All the Ebens are dressed in the same clothing. Now I see others dressed with some type of shawl and others in a dark blue outfit, different from the others. Each Eben is wearing a box on their belts. All have belts. Can't see any children. We are led to an open arena. Looks like a parade field. The ground is dirt. The sky is very clear. We see 2 suns, one brighter than the other. The landscape looks like a desert, Arizona or New Mexico. No vegetation that we can see. This must be the central village or town. We landed in an open area with large structures like electrical towers. Something is sitting on top of these towers. In the center of the village is a large tower. Looks like a mirror is placed on top of this tower. All the buildings look like adobe or mud huts, and some are larger than others. Unexpectedly, someone speaks English. We all look around and see an Eben. This Eben speaks very good English. This Eben, we call EB2, speaks almost fluent English. EB2 shows us a device and tells us that we must wear it. The weather is extremely hot. 6:33 says it's 107 degrees. EB2 led us to a series of 4 huts. Behind them is an underground room or storage area. It is built into the ground, underground. We have to walk down a ramp. The doors look like military igloos that store atomic bombs on Earth. All our gear taken off the spaceship is stored there. The room is a lot cooler than the outside. This igloo is made up of something like concrete, but not the same texture. Feels like soft rubber, but still hard. There are lights in the ceiling. They have electricity. Then I asked for the body of 308. EB2 seems to be confused and doesn't know about any body. I explained to EB2, held her hands across her body and bowed her head. She was almost crying. EB2 told us that the body would be brought to us, but she must check with her trainer. Maybe that means leader or commander. The Ebens present themselves as a society bordering on the paradoxical, appearing primitive and simple creatures, but at the same time endowed with incredibly advanced technology. Reading between the lines of the anonymous posts, we can deduce how the alien named by the team, EB2, is in reality the same entity that in 1964 translated and explained the Yellow Book to humans. Her emotional reaction to news of 308's death suggests a compassionate and empathic nature. During our first night, she seemed to make sure everything was just right for us. She warned us of the heat and the light. She mentioned that Serpo does not get dark, like Earth. The winds blow dust into our huts. We had a very difficult first night. We call it night, but it seems that the Ebens just call it a period of their day. The Ebens don't sleep, like we do. They seem to rest for periods of time and then wake and go about their business, whatever that may be. When we awoke, EB2 was there, outside our hut, and told us to follow her to the eating place. She didn't use the word dining hall. There was food on the tables. Ebens looked at us, but carried on eating. Do they not cook inside their huts? Maybe everyone eats here. Same food we saw and ate on the spaceship, except some items were different. Every now and then, we would catch Ebens staring at us. We were the freaks. We are the aliens. We see a different looking Eben, very strange looking creature, large, long arms, almost floats along with long legs. Can't be an Eben. We all stare. This creature just floated by us and didn't even look at us. I asked EB2 about the creature we just saw. I pointed to the thing at the other end of the building. She then saw what I meant. EB2 said, "No, Eben, just visitor, like you," pointing at me. I then asked EB2, what planet did that visitor come from? EB2 said something like Corta. Not sure of the exact word, although I asked her to repeat it twice. She walks me to a television, at least it looks like one. It is positioned in the corner of the building. She places her finger on the glass and a star system appears. She points to a spot and says Corta. Where is Earth? She points to another spot and says Earth. Based on this television glass space map, Corta and Earth are very close. The alien from Corta appears very similar to the alien species we call mantis. Many accounts of close encounters of the third kind claim to have seen these creatures. The thought that other extraterrestrial species can circulate and live freely on Serpo clearly shows the cosmopolitan and peaceful nature of the Ebens. We have to explore. That is why we were sent. We started walking around. 475 will take photographs with our military cameras. I teamed up with 225. We found a large tower. We saw this when we first arrived yesterday. We move on into the building. Can't find any stairs, but we see some type of round glass room. Then we hear English. We turn around and find EB2 standing there. Where did she come from? I asked her if we could explore this building. She said yes, and then pointed at the glass room and said, "Go up." We enter the glass room. The door closes. In no time, we are at the top of the building. She points to the sun, and then points to the top of the room, where the mirror is located, and then points to the ground. The tower is in the middle of a circle on the ground. In each quadrant of the circle is a symbol. Maybe this isn't a mirror as we know it, since the sunlight travels through it. But once the sunlight travels through it, the light is directed on a symbol within the circle. 225 seems to think it is a sundial. When the sun strikes a symbol, the Ebens change what they are doing and do something else. Maybe the Eben day is structured. The Eben society is extremely disciplined and equally intelligent. According to IQ tests carried out by team members on a sample of Ebens, their average IQ is 165. It is strange to think how such an advanced species submits to such a strict regime. The Ebens, however intelligent and advanced, do not show any kind of individuality and creativity, limiting themselves to following a routine for the rest of their lives. This detail could represent potential proof that creativity and intelligence are not closely linked. Clearly, all this for their society is nothing more than the most absolute normality. Annihilating life for a terrestrial, for them, is trivially normal. It is estimated that Serpo hosts only 650,000 Ebens, divided into small communities. Each of them resides in a village with a clock tower, as described in the diary. We could associate them with our neighborhoods, built around large factories and created specifically to house workers. Imagine applying this concept on a global scale. Each community has a specific function, but all share the same routine following the time marked by the clock tower. Furthermore, the Eben society is structured like that of our ancient civilizations, where only religious and political officials were taught practices such as writing. Engineers have a monopoly on the study of physics and mechanics for interplanetary travel, while other elite circles, such as doctors, have a monopoly on the study of science and biology. On the one hand, we have the average Eben who simply carries out the task assigned to him. On the other, a niche of Ebens who are eagerly jealous of information. It is reported that in the Eben society there are no entertainment devices similar to our televisions or radios. Every citizen has only that strange box positioned on their belt. The sociological research of the team is reported in a rather exhaustive way. Serpo is managed in every aspect by a council of governors. But despite this, there is no defined form of government. The testimonies also report that there was no crime, but a military force without weapons, equipped only with uniforms. The small communities of Serpo appear to be satellites of a capital community, which acts as the hub of industrialization. Serpo does not have a trading currency. Each villager's actions are controlled by the device on their belts. Skipper's diary also perfectly describes the structure of the Eben houses and the family nucleus. Each house is built in an unknown material similar to both wood and metal. Each house is the same as the others, internally and externally. The houses have 4 rooms. A bedroom furnished with mats for the whole family, a room for preparing food, so it can be deduced that not all Ebens go to the canteen, a small room for waste collection, and the largest room in the house, comparable to a living room, which Anonymous called the family room. The Eben family is structured in a very simple way. Each male EB has a female partner. The couple is allowed to reproduce in a limited way. Skipper and the rest of the team have never met families larger than 4 individuals. Eben children grow very quickly and are often isolated from the rest of the community during their childhood. As their development progresses, aptitude and skills are analysed to then direct them towards the most suitable job for them on the basis of what they have learned. Following the untimely death of 308 during the journey, the Ebens, without any kind of authorization and explanation, take possession of the body. Skipper, on several occasions, asks to get the body of his fallen comrade back. The pages of the diary that have been leaked reveal an extremely dark side of this futuristic civilization. The leader seems larger and more aggressive than the others. He seems to be the boss, similar to me as the team commander. His voice, although after all this time I still can't understand any words, is harsh and with a tone that is different from the rest. 203 claims the leader has an attitude. The leader has requested many things from us, most of which we have provided. One strange thing is our blood. He wanted all of us to supply a blood sample. EB2 explained that the blood was necessary for them to supply any medicine to us if we should ever need it. 700 and 754 feel that a blood sample might just be used for other purposes. They took all 308's blood. We were confronted by several Ebens. EB3, the Eben leader, showed up and I explained that we wanted the body of 308. EB3 told us the body was in storage and we could not take it. EB2 showed up with the leader. EB2 was extremely polite and asked us to wait. She used the word please several times. In fact, she actually used the English word beg. I told EB2 that we wanted our friend's body and we wanted to examine it. EB2 translated that to the leader. There was a long exchange of words between the two. Finally, EB2, who seemed very frustrated, told us that the leader would like us to go to another location and speak with another Eben, a doctor, about the body of 308. About 20 minutes later, 3 Ebens showed up. One of the Ebens identified himself as a doctor and spoke very good English. This doctor had a strange sounding voice, almost like a human's voice without a high-pitched accent. He told us that the scientists have done experiments with 308's body because they considered it an honor to have such a specimen to work with. The doctor told us they have used 308's body to create a type of cloned human being. I demanded to see the body. The doctor explained that the body was gone and that all the blood and organs were taken out and used to clone other beings. The use of the word beings really scared me and the others. The doctor, who was extremely straightforward, told me that nothing further would happen with the body, but advised me that very little was left of the body. Myself, 633 and 700 were escorted by EB2 to the laboratory facility. The building looked like a large single-story windowless school. We arrived in a room with white walls. We met our English-speaking doctor. We saw many other Ebens, all dressed in a bluish-coloured one-piece suit. The doctor told us that all the experiments were done inside this building. We were led into another room where there were rows of containers, looking like glass bathtubs. Inside each bathtub were bodies. I was shocked, as were 700 and 754. Bodies. Strange-looking bodies. Not human bodies, at least not all of them. These were hideous-looking creatures. I asked the doctor what type of creatures were inside these tubs. The doctor told us that these creatures came from other planets. 700 asked the doctor, were these creatures dead when they arrived, or did the Ebens bring them here dead? The doctor said all the creatures were brought to the planet alive. The doctor said that these beings were brought here for experiments. These creatures are not intelligent beings. EB2 then used the word animals. Okay, now I understand. All these creatures are animals from other planets. I then asked if there were any intelligent creatures in this building. The doctor said yes, but that all of them were dead when they arrived on Serpo. 700 asked to see these creatures. The doctor corrected 700 by saying beings. I guess creatures equals animals and beings are like humans. Let me first write down the description of these creatures inside these tubs. They are not all alike. The first creature I see inside the tub looks like a porcupine. It appears to have a tube placed inside of it. The tube leads to a box underneath the tub. The second creature I see has a large head, big, deep-set eyes, no ears, a mouth, but no teeth. It is about 5 feet long and has 2 lower legs, but no feet. It has 2 arms, but it doesn't appear to have any elbows. It has hands, but no fingers. This creature also has a tube going through it. The next creature looked like nothing I can compare it to. It had blood-red skin, 2 spots in the middle, maybe eyes, no arms or legs. It had a very strange odour. The skin appeared to be blotchy with scales, maybe like a fish. The next creature was human-like, but the skin was white, not skin white, the colour white. The skin was wrinkled. The head was large, with 2 eyes, 2 ears and a mouth. The neck was very small. The head almost looked as if it sat on the lower torso. The chest was thin, with large bone-like protrusions. The arms were curled, with hands but no thumbs. The legs were also curled, with feet, but only 3 toes. I couldn't look at any more creatures. We came into a room that looked like a hospital room. There were many Eben-style beds. In each bed was a living being, as the doctor called it. The doctor told us that each being was alive and well cared for. 700 asked the doctor if these beings were ill or sick. EB2 had to translate that, but the doctor said no, they are being lived. The 3 of us seemed really stunned by that word. I asked EB2 what the doctor meant. EB2 then used the word grown. 754 asked the doctor if these beings were being grown like a plant. The doctor said, yes, that is a good comparison. 700 asked the doctor how they are grown. The doctor said that certain parts of other beings were used to grow these beings, and that he could not explain the process in English because he didn't know the words. The Ebens must have found a way to grow cells and to make them into living beings. I then asked the doctor if 308's body was used to create a being. The doctor said yes, and showed us the being. I was shocked, as was 700 and 754. This being, with our teammates' blood and cells, looked like a large Eben, but the hands and legs were similar to humans. I told the doctor that we would like to leave. EB2 saw that I was upset and touched my hand. Instantly, I felt concerned. EB2 was really concerned about what I saw. We travelled outside this building, a building that I did not wish to see again. The Ebens are not the humane civilization we thought they were, but I must say they didn't hide anything. The doctor spoke straight to us, just like the Ebens. They don't know how to lie. Apart from the matter relating to the body of number 308, the coexistence between humans and Eben proceeds as planned. After about 2 years, the team begins to progressively abandon the terrestrial system of measuring time, thus adapting to the cycles of Serpo. The rotation of the planet is influenced by its 2 suns, so that an Eben day is about 43 Earth hours long. During the years of study, the team became aware of the geological information of the planet. A diameter equivalent to 7,218 miles. The mass of the planet equivalent to 5.06 times 10 to the power of 24. 2 suns and 2 moons. The average gravity on the surface equivalent to 9.6. The period of a complete orbit, expressed in Earth days, equal to 865 days. A 43-degree inclination. The inhabited planet closest to Serpo, Silas, in the constellation of Zeta Reticuli, populated by a species called Trantaloids. The local fauna is not as varied as the terrestrial one, and above all, it does not appear in large quantities. Anonymous continues its posts by writing that Serpo is estimated to be 3 billion years old, and that the Eben civilization has a hypothetical age of 10,000 years. The Ebens do not appear to be an indigenous civilization of the planet. It is assumed that this population had to face an exodus from their home planet as it was no longer fit for survival. From the studies carried out by the team, it appears that Serpo has a vast network of rivers and aquifers in the subsoil, which would then flow into large valleys. Our team contained 2 geologists, cross-trained as biologists. The first thing they did was map the entire planet, dividing it in half, thus creating an equator. Then they established a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. Within each hemisphere, they created 4 quadrants. Finally, they established the north and south poles. Most of the Eben communities were placed along the equator. However, there were some communities established north of the equator in each of the 4 quadrants in the northern hemisphere. There were no communities located in either of the poles. Going further north from the South Pole in Quadrant 1, the team found extrusive rocks. This indicated some volcanic activity in the area. Our team found numerous volcanoes in this area. The team found several fissure eruptions in this region, with standing water. The water was tested and contained high levels of sulfur, zinc, copper, and other unknown chemicals. Moving east to Quadrant 2, the team found basically the same volcanic fields of rocks. However, in one particular location near the north end of Quadrant 2, the team found an alkali flat. On Earth, these were formed by streams flowing into a desert or arid location. Our team found hard mud covered by alkaline salts. Some vegetation was growing in this area. In the third quadrant, the team found a form of badlands, an arid region that is lined with deep gullies with sparse vegetation. The gullies or valleys were extremely deep, some going down 3,000 feet. The team found the first Serpo animal in this region. It looked like an armadillo. This creature was extremely hostile and tried to attack us several times. The Eben guide used some type of sound device, a sonic-directed sound beam, to scare away the creatures. Moving to the equatorial region, our team found desert-style landscapes, which contained patches of vegetation. The team found numerous pockets of water fed to the ground by artesian wells. This water was the freshest, containing only the unknown chemicals. It tasted good, and the Ebens drank and used it. Our team still boiled it, because during culture tests, unknown types of bacteria were detected. Moving to the northern hemisphere, the team found a major change in climate and landscape. One team member, who had coined it Quadrant 1 in the northern hemisphere, named it Little Montana. The team found trees similar to the evergreen style of Earth trees. These trees were milked by the Ebens. Skipper's diary goes on to tell how in this period each member of the team falls ill in a non-serious form at least once. In particular, he mentions number 754. 754 became sick, but he has recovered. We don't know what he suffered, but 700 treated him with penicillin, which worked. We have all had some sort of sickness since we've been here. 700 and 754 are keeping records of each team member and their medical and physical condition. We have tried to keep a steady physical fitness program since we arrived. Everyone is in pretty good shape, at least physically. Mentally, that might be another story. Some team members miss Earth, as I do, but no team member has broken down or has needed any type of psychological help. The first death to occur on the alien planet happened suddenly, leaving all members of the team shocked. "899 died in an accident. It was hard to communicate with the Ebens. He died instantly, therefore no medical care was provided. Our two doctors examined 899's body and determined the injuries were consistent with an accidental fall. The Ebens showed affection to our team. During the last work period, the Ebens had a ceremony for the dead team member, the same ceremony used when an Eben died. Our team held their own service, attended by the Ebens. Our team was eternally grateful for Eben's caring attitude for our dead friend." The second death of a team member occurs relatively shortly after the events just described. Doc 2, number 754, died of pneumonia after a period of illness and physical infirmity. The team learns that the Ebens also have religious rituals and functions. All Ebens attend a daily religious ritual at the same time each day. The most alarming factor of this practice is that according to studies reported, on the entire planet there is only one religion with a single interpretation. Death in the Eben culture is nothing more than the liberation of the soul from a physical container, therefore considered a reason for jubilation. After an unspecified period, the team decides to move north, where the climate is milder, in order to continue their stay in peace. The Ebens not only accommodate the demand, but build a small community dedicated to the team. Reading the diary, it is clear that this move took place many years after the death of number 754. Since the main research on the civilization is now concluded, the team focuses on the geology of Serpo and other more theoretical subjects. As we travelled towards the North Pole, the temperature cooled considerably. We found mountains rising to an elevation of 15,000 feet and valleys that sank below the basic mark that we established for sea level. Lush green fields were found, containing a form of grass, but contained bulbs. The radiation levels were lower in the northern hemisphere than at the equator. The North Pole contained cold weather, and the team saw the first sign of snow. Blankets of snow littered the landscape around the North Pole. The Ebens could not stand to be in this region for long. They suffered extreme hypothermia. Our guide wore a suit similar to a spacesuit with a built-in heater. We found a strange animal which looked like a large ox. The animal was timid and never seemed to be hostile. Another animal looked like a mountain lion but had long fur around the neck. This animal was curious but was not considered hostile by the Ebens. During the exploration of Quadrant 4 of the Southern Hemisphere, we found a very long and large creature that appeared to be a snake. This creature was deadly, as explained by the Ebens. The head of the creature was large and contained almost human-like eyes. This was the only time we used our weapons to kill something. The internal organs were strange and nothing similar to an Earth-style snake. The creature measured 15 feet long and 1.5 feet in diameter. We were curious about the eyes. They contained an iris, and the back contained a large nerve, similar to the optic nerve feeding into the creature's brain. The brain was large, much larger than any Earth-based snake. Some of us wanted to eat the meat from the creature, but the Eben guides politely told them no. The bodies of water on Serpo did not contain fish, as we know them. Some bodies near the equator did contain strange-looking creatures, similar to eels, and was probably a cousin of the land-based snake. There was something like a jungle near the marshlands, but not the jungles that we're familiar with. Due to the different method of measuring time, the team returns to Earth after 13 years of stay on Serpo, and not 10, as pre-established. The team returns on August the 18th, 1978, but as the ship's hatch opens, only 7 members of the team come out. It is disclosed that 2 other members have deliberately decided not to return and to spend the last years of their lives among the Ebens. That day, America buries 3 coffins, only 2 of which are full. 3 lives, 3 people who have decided to devote their existence to progress and research. 3 individuals who have given up their identity to chase the stars. The survivors are isolated in quarantine for a year and kept hidden in various military bases until 1984, the time necessary for things to calm down. The body responsible for their privacy and security was the Air Force Office of Special Investigation, also known as a FOSI. Anonymous in its posts states that the team has been writing reports and participating in debriefing sessions with a FOSI for about a year and a half. The document they wrote is more than 3,000 pages long. Anonymous claims that there are also multiple audio tapes recorded both on the ground and during the mission in order to record their progress. The total number of these cassettes is 5,419. Among the other evidence brought back to Earth by the team are thousands of photographs. The only one that Anonymous managed to get his hands on is this one, the vast desert of Serpo illuminated by 2 suns. Clearly we can expect such material to be top secret, even to the highest ranks of the military. Probably the truth will never come out in its entirety. All the evidence is kept in an unknown location, which is assumed to be the DIA vault at Bolling Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. What remains shrouded in mystery is the involvement of Anonymous. We do not know if he personally took part in any mission concerning Project Crystal Knight, or if he is just narrating the story of an individual involved. According to his posts, the survivors died during the 80s due to the massive dose of radiation absorbed on the mission. The longest surviving member was Skipper himself, who died in 2002. Their last years of life took place in complete anonymity, far from the fame they deserve. 12 anonymous graves. 12 heroes. During Anonymous's time on the blog, something happened that we recognise as endemic to the internet in 2023. The shitstorm. This slang, coined by the internet, is used to describe a chaotic situation where a more or less large group of people who disagree start arguing and insulting each other, even resulting in threats. The disagreeing parties can be summarised by 2 factions: the supporters of Anonymous and of the facts he recounts, and his detractors. Why would Anonymous have the need to lie? Who is behind his nickname? After months of research, a couple of hackers discovered that at least 5 user accounts on the forum, including that of Anonymous, can be traced back to a single person: Rick Doty. Doty is a former Air Force intelligence officer specializing in spreading fake news and disinformation about UFOs. His most famous operation involves the Dulce military base and an Albuquerque businessman convinced he is intercepting alien messages. Rick used actual UFO research to lend credibility to his lies and thus spread false news in the UFO community. According to the hackers, these 5 accounts were posting from the same device with the same internet network and the same IP address. Doty has never made a secret of his participation in these disinformation campaigns, but at the same time he claimed that some of the documented facts of UFOs are real. Roswell, the underground bases, and even Project Crystal Knight. There is a story about an alien exchange program that has been around since the 1950s, well before the forum and Rick's posts. In the midst of the shitstorm, a user named Chapman claims to be a member of the British Ministry of Defence and insinuates that he himself has seen documents relating to Serpo. The files exist, but the events reported by Anonymous do not. Chapman reveals how the origins of the story of Serpo must be attributed to the sci-fi author Alice Bradley Sheldon. Alice worked for military intelligence with the rank of major during the Second World War. After the war, she joined the CIA. During the 60s, the Soviets terrorized the world, convincing it that they had weapons of mass destruction hidden in American territory, which could be activated by undercover and sleeper agents. Project Serpo was created as a counter-offensive to these allegations. The CIA and the US government needed to scare the Soviets into believing they possessed advanced technology and had contact with extraterrestrial entities. It didn't take long for the KGB to become suspicious and doubtful. Serpo's story went from being a security measure to a sci-fi fairy tale, only to end up on the back burner. It has only resurfaced thanks to Dodi's disinformation campaign, with the aim of clogging up the UFO community with ever more bizarre and outlandish stories to destroy and ridicule it from within. However, Dodi has often changed sides over the years. He has gone from misinformation to a firm supporter of UFOs, to the point of attending conventions. What if Rick had told the truth? What reason would he have had to create those fake profiles? Dodi's story began with a simple plot, but slowly, post after post, it became more and more elaborate and unrealistic, clogging the site with far-fetched information. We are not aware of any real, tangible evidence of Project Crystal Night and Serpo, but at the same time we have no hard evidence that can demolish it other than assumptions. Over the years, multiple whistleblowers, former government employees, have come forward in favour of the veracity of this story. Even Barney and Betty Hill, victims of the most famous documented alien abduction, support Serpo, since the aliens who abducted them were from Zeta Reticuli. Is everybody lying? Is everybody hungry for that famous 15 minutes of fame? Or is there a grain of truth? The next time you look at the night sky, remember that in our galaxy alone there are about 300 billion stars, including at least 5 billion solar systems similar to ours. Perhaps not all of them have a planet suitable for the development of organic organisms placed at the right distance from its own sun. It is therefore calculated that of these 5 billion, at least 10 million could have these characteristics, and among these 10, at least 1,000 could have seen the development of a bacterial life form which, in the worst case scenario, on at least 50 planets, could have evolved into a multicellular life form and intelligent organisms. From this, it has been calculated that in the worst case, the possibility that technologically advanced civilizations and alien multicellular organisms exist in our galaxy is equivalent to about 0.1%. This doesn't seem much, but if multiplied by the approximately 500 billion galaxies that are estimated to exist, it becomes, in the most pessimistic hypothesis, 50,000. 50,000 technologically advanced civilizations currently exist in the universe. The next time you look at the night sky, observing the celestial bodies, remember that they could be looking back at you too.